Okay, here's an update for January 10th, and my name's Ethan, and I'm working on an Oracle Apex application, trying to build it in a month. I did a little work on the back end in December, and I started to work on the front end actually the last week of December. And so we're really in our second week of January, but there's been more than, obviously more than a week of work on this project. I'm going to show you where we're at. Along with this, as I'm building this, I'm building a framework so that others can basically build a SaaS application on Oracle Apex very quickly also. And that's going to be something that I continue to improve as I build more and more applications. So as soon as we're done with this one, we're going to start the next application. I've got 2 or 3 ideas in the queue. I might be going back to doing some contracting, so I might not have as much time, which is all the more reason it's super important to be able to do things quickly. So this is an MVP, minimal viable product. We're keeping things as simple as possible. And so here is your simple start page. It's super simple. Maybe when I get a chance, I'll add some ad copy down here. But I'm not really good at that. It's not my strength, so I'm not going to spend a ton of time doing it. But we'll improve upon it slowly over time instead of spending a whole day, maybe getting nothing out. We'll wait until an idea strikes, and as we think about it, and then we'll have a place to put it. So as far as the landing page goes, this is it. You can register here. If you forgot your password, you can reset it here. I don't think my email workflow is working yet. I'm pretty sure I haven't implemented that. Maybe password reset works. I'm not sure. There's a few different ways you can hook email up into Oracle Apex. You can use the Oracle Cloud's native capabilities, or use a service like whatever I use. So anyway, go ahead and log in, and you're taking to your. Why is it? Of course, it's working slow when we're all watching, right? So you're taken to your weight entry page, and I've already entered my weight for today. Now, one thing I love about this is you can look at your history and get a good idea of where you're going. So obviously, I've been doing a lot of coding and not a lot of exercise, plus it's been freezing cold, and also all the more reason not to go outside and do anything and just sit around eating sweets and drinking coffee. But I can look here and see that, I'm not doing so well, and, go back to maybe October or August are some areas when I was probably doing similar. We can see my weight, what I want to get down to, 193. That's set in your preferences here. And I got a 2 today, which is a pretty bad score, and then these are the units that add up to why I got a 2. I don't really focus on these too much. I do like to see greens. One of the features I might add is badges in the future. So we can go to Deep Dive, and I find with Deep Dive that I like to, there's one particular number that I'm kind of focusing on, and this week it's been my calorie balance. So my calorie balance is right now 645 calories a day, in excess of what I'm burning. So, that is like every 6 days I'm going to gain a pound. Now, the nice thing about it is these things operate on curves. So we're familiar with these curves, right, from the COVID pandemic. And once a curve starts, you can't just turn it around, because these are rolling averages and things like that. And at least it looks like I've gone over the peak on my curve. And I've done really well today. I think I've had 3 eggs and 3 cups of coffee with some creamer and no calorie-free sugar. I think that's all I've had to eat. Yeah, and it's like 6 o'clock at night, so doing really good. I find that the intermittent fasting, where I go as long as I can in the day without eating, and then I can go home and eat anything I want, and I will end up at a negative calorie balance for the day. And if you do that for a couple of weeks, you start to lose weight. So one of the reasons I built this is I love all this feedback that I get, and I don't find that with traditional apps that are out there, or there's ways that I'm just a geek and I want to tweak them. I want the ability to do that. Here's my score history. This is where we get down into the data, and I can look at my calorie balance here, and I can kind of see the numbers, and there are some other columns there. There's explanations of all of those coming. That's a to-do. So as far as to-dos go, or one more thing I did today is on preferences. I added this, these are your preferences. I ended up converting, for Oracle Apex Geeks, I ended up converting some of these fields, which I thought were pretty cool because I use this thing called Oracle Apex Preferences, which is kind of like a key value store. They got a long ways to go because I need to be able to query those, purge them when I delete a user, I delete a row that's related to those preferences. I want to easily purge all those preferences for users, and it's just not quite there yet. The Oracle Apex Cloud interface in the workspace UI does not allow you to see those preferences like it would, I think, if you owned the Oracle Apex instance. So it's not quite there. And the more I think about it, the more I'm like, I really want everything in a table, because if it's in a table, I can just change it. If I want to reset, I push out a new theme and I want everybody to go to that new theme in order to see it, I can do that. Kind of like Google sets a particular theme on their homepage. I could do that. I could say this week we're going to change the theme to this and do it for everybody. I probably won't do that, but there's just all these reasons you want your data kind of in a central place, and a table is usually the best place. Because when you use a preference, Oracle's ultimately keeping that in a table somewhere. So added this advanced field here, which actually runs some pretty intense background calculations. So we don't want to run that every time anything changes on this form, only when this is formed. And I figured out a way to do fairly easy low code to no code detection, whether a field is changed, and then call a backend process. And so I shot another video on that, and you can watch that on my channel. So as far as to-dos go, I did figure out how I'm going to push this to production and do updates. I kind of have a workflow, and I'm going to basically be trying to do that every few days just to keep working through that workflow and refining it. Because that's another thing I think that as a community of SaaS developers on Oracle Apex or people developing applications, we want to have a workflow that kind of works for everybody. Nothing works for everybody, but this, I want to be able to show beginners or novices or people that haven't discovered their own workflows, here's a workflow that works for me, and this is why it works. Okay, so I pushed it to production, immediately started coming up with, ideas, and I try to keep notes on as much as I can and go through them at least once a day and figure out what I want to delete or what I've taken care of. So on the prod deploy, the score was showing up with 2 decimals. I fixed that. This is not, if you go out to the URL right now and you're on prod, you won't see these fixes because I haven't pushed them out. Change target weight on the preference page to goal. Yes, I changed the term. These are little tweaks like on preferences. Instead of target weight, which is, it sounds cool, I think goal weight makes sense for more people than that. I think it's a little clearer. That's something my mom might understand as opposed to me. CSV Upload really feels like it's needed. It is, you create an account, you don't have much data. There's a lot of people that already have their data in, maybe a spreadsheet or something like that. And I want to make it easy to upload. Initially, I'm just going to do a cut and paste into a field of your data from your, I'll make that fairly easy. In the future, we might add a file upload from a spreadsheet or something like that. I need a better way to get to the dev environment. So I'm in the dev environment, and I do have a way to get to it. I think I added whitelisting. Yeah, maybe you need to implement a whitelist so that you can't get to dev environment. I have figured out an easy way to use superloser.io and get to dev environment, but I'm thinking some kind of link might be enabled or something like that. I don't know. Maybe even on the login page would be cool. Yeah, that could be kind of cool. Like here on the login page, like click here to log into dev or something, I don't know. And maybe whitelist whether that shows up based on that, so it doesn't show up for everybody. Okay, need email verifications for sign up, yes. And this is going to be either strict or like lag, like a time thing, and that's going to be part of the authorization service that will be part of K2 later this month when I put that all new out on GitHub. Phone verification also, need Twilio integration. That's not too important. I think I can make that a feature after the MVP. Since I'm going with a free model, I don't feel a lot of pressure to add features because basically nobody's going to be paying for this. Although they do have the ability to give me a donation, and I think I showed that before, but I do have a support, value for value. Here you can make a donation. I did do a buy me a coffee account, and it's not that I expect to get a lot of donations. This isn't about that. It's more about like if you have a way for people to give you money, at least make it easy for them. I mean, there's no reason not to, right? And it also, if you're getting one donation a month, and then 10 months down the road, you start getting 10 donations a month, you've done something and you need some feedback. You need a feedback loop, and Cash is a good feedback loop. Going back to, where were we? So weight entry, I was going through this list. So the ability to create a shareable link, that's one of those things I thought of, but I mean, immediately I'm like today, after working today, I'm like, no, that's future. That doesn't need to be there. Grid does not sort because data types, that's a bug. That definitely needs a fix. So like on this grid, if you come in here, cool thing about Oracle Apex, we go to deep dive. So the cool thing about Oracle Apex is like this stuff is just built in, and this is what's called a interactive report. So let's just say I want Mondays. I can just go MON and row text. If any row contains, oh no, it's case sensitive. Boom. Oh, maybe it wasn't case sensitive. I don't know. There it is. So we're just looking at Mondays now. Isn't that cool? And if I want to sort, I can sort. Format, there's so much stuff here. Data sort, I want to sort, and let's say I want to sort on prior week average ascending. Will this work? That actually works. So there's a bug in here somewhere. One of these is getting converted to a character type, and it's not working. So we'll just make sure, can't find bug, but keep looking. So this is kind of what will direct my work maybe later tonight. Okay, no place to click login. So I didn't have any you just come here and it's super simple. There's nowhere to log in, but now that was because I had a menu item here. The donate was showing up, and that's not showing up anymore. So, you're going to get stuck right here. This is pretty obvious. So I think that's solved. Get rid of donate from public view. I did that. Make sure people know it's free. Well, it says it's free right there. That works. Lack of a proper homepage is obvious. Go with super simple. We're just going with this. I really just added this text and got rid of that, and I'm okay with that. SQL Snap needs to be disabled by default. So I have this background thing. Part of installing my K2 environment is this tool I call ArcSQL, and it has this. All the SQL, it's keeping track of performance. It does it in a fairly efficient way, and in my view, a way better than I like looking at it any other way that Oracle provides. And so that is, unfortunately, it runs whenever you install ArcSQL in a schema, and I've got ArcSQL running in multiple schemas, so I have this running all over the place, and it's really only needs to run in one schema because it's gathering SQL for everybody in the instance. So that needs to be turned off by default, and so I'll be doing that. But that's one of the cool things you're going to get when you use K2. You'll have that, and eventually we'll have some dashboards and explanations of that. So like you deploy a SAAS product, and you're like, oh, this doesn't work, something is really hosed, and you don't understand a lot about Oracle performance. If you just share that data with me through whatever screen I provide or something like that, just screenshot it, I'll pretty much be able to tell you at least if there's a SQL issue, performance issue. And I can tell actually a lot of other things too. So that'll be kind of part of the community thing, helping people with performance problems. And consider adding date format preferences. That was an idea. That's definitely going to be future, but some people, for globalization reasons and things like that, want to see dates rendered in a different format where that's possible. Let me show you why that's already, things like that seem super simple, right? But if I go into deep dive, I'm not actually rendering date, this is a text field. So then I have to take their, how do they want this? I want to show day in order to keep things compact and not show days in different columns. I'm trying to keep them right here. Anyway, it becomes complicated because then you have to do this sorting behind the scenes, and it may not be a data type and things like that. So little things like that seem simple, and initially I say, hey, that is really simple. That's no problem at all. But more times than not, I discover that ends up taking like all day. And so you got to be really careful about the things that you bring into scope. Okay, that's pretty much it. And let's go back and look at it. We've got everything going on. So yeah, that's it. Anything else? Nope. That's all I can think of. Anyway, thanks for watching. This was a long one, but I think I've got people up to date, not just on the app, but what I'm thinking, and hopefully that's helpful. If you're designing an app and you're thinking about these things, some of these thoughts are like, okay, those are things I want to think about too. If you have any questions, just post them in the comments, and I'll try to answer them. Thanks.